Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you happen to answer this Truth Bomb Riff. My name is Patrick Lovell, and I'm joined by my wonderful colleague, Roseanne Rabiola Mile. And we are recording this on, I guess it's
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday, July 9th, 2025. And I thought that we should connect on camera because one, we don't do that as often as we should, but two, man, you are getting followers like crazy on Blue Sky, and they need to hear from you more often and spread the word of everything that's going on. And I thought that, you know, we should try something for like 15 minutes. We'll see how it turns out. And keep it short because we know we got to keep these things short, apparently, which is a little bit more effective. Or we get, here I am with my shoulder again. Either that or we get an editor or some sort of situation. And,
We're going to do what we can do with what we've got.
absolutely. And that's a great point, Roseanne, because look, I don't know what it's going to take for us to break through this sort of membrane of the people that are out there, many of whom are sharing us, but that still don't fully extrapolate and understand what we're telling them in the moment. And I'm going to set this up, and then I'm going to let you ref. Um, so we have seen since the beginning of Trump's rampage, starting in January with Doge and Elon, that effectively, I believe, from what I've heard from Judge Ludwig, characterized somewhere in the vicinity of 190 executive orders that are legally or unconstitutional. And people might be like, well, how is that possible? When we saw, for example, Big Balls, some 22-year-old joker that is working in tech with Elon Musk, I guess is a joke, but just to demonstrate what he's capable of, getting the back door to the Treasury and everyone's Social Security payments, as well as our tax information, and then handing off that information, from what I understand, presumably, to the likes of Peter Thiel. Now, if you understand what these guys have been doing since the beginning of their partnership together, going back to the PayPal mafia, they've been in fintech. And as you well know, we have interacted with Art Wilmarth, one of the world's greatest experts in all things financial
Yeah.
regulation and particularly fintech. And he basically spent about an hour with me where I suddenly realized that Elon Musk is creating central bank digital currency. You put that into context of the entirety of Bitcoin and of course all things blockchain in context to crypto, where Trump was getting backdoored over the course of the last 30 days, 60 days, somewhere in the vicinity of 6 billion to Truth Social and all sorts of variables of insane backdoor mechanics that are just basically quid pro quo, effectively paying him for access. And we saw, of course, a bunch of crypto junkies in the White House, no less. And that was like yesterday's news, right? And then on top of it, I mean, I could go through every litany of situation through Doge and breaking up NOLA. I could go through the scenario of destroying science and atomic commissions and things that a superpower absolutely requires, not to mention our safety through air traffic control throughout the United States. And this country is being dismantled right before our eyes. And then we get the big, beautiful bill. So we're going to see 17 million people kicked off of Medicaid. We're going to see effects all over the place while we're providing billionaires billions of dollars in tax relief. I don't want to call it that. We're reducing their taxes. Billionaires can live off
What
of their money,
taxes?
yeah, for the rest of their lives with 10 generations and never even feel it. And we're going to lower their taxes. And in addition to that, um, you know, uh, people, with bombing Iran unconstitutionally because we didn't have Congress's involvement. But of course, we saw everybody from Reagan and Bush and Clinton and Bush too all do the same thing primarily. So that's been a thing for a long time. And then the War Powers Act, and then of course the National Guard and the Marines, usurping Governor. In California, why can't I think of his name? Governor. I'm thinking
Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom, because I'm thinking of Governor Abbott and all of the disaster in Texas. But and that's unconstitutional. But then what do we see in the meantime? We see the Supreme Court saying no harm, no foul. basically Trump can do whatever he wants to. He's immune to the law. He's above the law. He has full control of the National Guard and the military while he's the executive, which is this new process that has been kind of undertaking since Project 2025, which is developed by the technocrats that have never happened in the United States' history before, where the president has absolute authority, which is nonsense. And then at the same time, though, nobody's able to stop him because of the numbers in Congress. And yet we could go on and on and on. And ultimately, people are like, okay, let's add up just the few things that I heard you say. Billionaires get running away with the full power of the United States, while not paying for it, and then millions of people that are in desperation getting kicked from, healthcare and whatever other calamity that's going to create, not to mention privatizing government. And I could go on and on and on. I see you chomping at the bit. But the reason I want to set this up with us is you and I have been, and we have known this from the beginning. One, we don't fund the government with taxes. State
Right.
governments do, but the
Federal taxes.
there's a whole mishigas that we could go into, or just methodology. But what we have revealed nonstop from the very beginning is because of my work with my colleagues that have revealed what we have assembled calling the new untouchables, but starting with the con that you can find for free, which is the blueprint for how everything works, which is the revelation of the largest criminal conspiracy in history that never ended, that you can find at thecon.tv. But what it leads to is the revelation that we have backdoored tens of trillions of dollars illegally to the billionaire class and the billionaire apparatus. And what do I mean by billionaire apparatus? Everybody that's in the financial system, okay? And by the way, they were the ones responsible for what I just told you, the largest criminal conspiracy in history, the largest racketeering enterprise in history. And what we're trying to get everybody to understand is, oh my God, Trump is the apocalypse and all of these other elements. No, Trump is the consequence of everything that we've been trying to get your attention about. And what I continue to say is corruption births and fuels fascism. And now everybody's talking about fascism. Have we not been talking about this the whole time? Not to mention the remedy. So now I'm going to turn it over to you, my friend, and just let her rip.
And here's the problem. The problem is all those items that you mentioned. If I were a betting person, I would say that 75% of the people in this country do not know all of those horrific things that are happening now, that are going to happen. And you know what hit me was this. We have this house, and in this house, we're just going to call them termites. And these termites are eating away at the foundation of our house. And we don't know. We might see a little bug here and there, and we have an exterminator come and try to kill it. But the house is freaking collapsing.
It's rotted to the core, and the foundation, of course, great point, is the law. Go ahead.
So what is happening? We're in the house. We're living in the house. We're going to our job. We're going to sports events. We're shooting off fireworks and having a frickin' barbecue. Okay? We're doing all this stuff. And the house is crumbling. It's crumbling. And we are not paying attention because we're too busy doing what we do every day.
Yeah, but Roseanne, let me point this out. Millions of people will come to the street. Okay, come on.
Of course.
We've seen more
absolutely
in the street protesting than any time in the history of the United States. So that does not mean everybody doesn't get it. Many people say something that's wrong. But what I and you have both experienced in real time is we looked out into the throngs of thousands of people. We've seen the signs. We've seen the signs asking the questions. We've seen them making reference to everything that we're talking about. But what are they missing, Roseanne? They don't have the answers we're revealing.
They don't. That's right. And here's the thing. A couple of months before, I got up in front of the Salt Lake crowd for 1 minute and 36 seconds. And I had everybody until the very end, and they didn't understand, even though I said corruption and the con, it's like went right over their head. It did.
Wait a second, wait a second. Let me insert something because I was standing right next to you and you pulled off one of the most incredible moves in the history of the world to be able to get that microphone under the conditions that we were in. And one day I hope to dramatize that in a movie that we make about this whole experience because that's what it is. But you got up there and you opened up with, my name's Roseanne Rabbiola Mile. I'm 76 years old and I've been around the block. You had him. And then you go, I started in Chicago. I was in 1968 in Mayor Daley's campaign, where basically the Gestapo police came out and tried to shoot us in the street, or shoot to kill was your thing. And you doubly had them because they were like, here's a woman who knows, right? But you were also getting time boxed because you couldn't tell the whole story of what we've been doing and everything else. And you went right to the chase and you said, and watch the con,
Right.
which was awesome. But they were like, what
Oh,
the hell's
really?
the con?
Right. That's right. And that just proves what I've said to you a bazillion times. There are no magic words. There is no magic time, although I have spoken about the last couple of months as magic time because of who we are working with, the new untouchables, people that you've met personally, people whose
Wait a
minds.
second. I didn't meet personally. I went and produced a revelation where I did thousands of hours of research, where I discovered the heroes within our system that have been fighting corruption at the highest levels for decades. We talked to William K. Black, the guy who's the Michael Jordan criminology. He put away 7,000 white collar, high level executives during the savings and loan crisis in the late 80s, early 90s, which was 180th the size of the financial crisis. Paul Peltier, who was at the DOJ for 3 decades. Mark Danny was the former Supreme Court Justice. He should be, actually. The former Attorney General of Ohio, who got the only RICO conviction in the entire country. So, no, I didn't just meet these people. I got inside their world and understood and brought it to the world in the con that you're telling people to watch. Why do they want to watch the con, Rose?
They want to watch the con because the con is the blueprint. And it's the blueprint. It's the truth behind the largest criminal conspiracy in the history of what we have that keeps going on. Now, I will tell you something. You sat with these folks, you talked with them, you went through documents. I met them in a different way. I heard every single one of those people just through my
On what?
ears
On what?
on, first of all, I saw them in the con. Second of all, I saw them in not people that folks out here haven't seen yet in the new Untouchables, the Pecora Files. I was at
Which is
kind
a
of this,
podcast, ladies and gentlemen. You can find it on YouTube.
yeah. Well, and I have their links all over the place. They just got to follow me. Just follow me. Anyway, so I was able to meet all these people just by listening to them because I took their words. I took all 19 episodes and listened to their words and got into their heads. And I didn't see any expressions. I didn't see any video. I just heard their words. Now, we do that. Then we start doing Patrick Lovell Truth Bombs the Con, which, had it not been for a couple of women, probably the old lady one to push the most, we wouldn't have had Patrick Lovell Truth Bombs Con. Okay. You have 618 episodes, maybe 619, of Patrick Lovell Truth Bombs the Con. Now, each one of those is some kind of, I'm going to call it magic, some kind of appeal. It's an appeal to the different things going on in the minds of people. I don't know what turns X, Y, and Z person on.
But
Okay.
that's also happening on a daily basis. So whatever the mainstream news is covering and whatever outrage is going on, particularly for those who might watch Rachel Maddow or Lawrence O'Donnell or somebody who's, Democratic based, or, all the MAGAs aren't hearing me, that's for sure, because I'm not speaking that language. I'm just I say it all the time. I am anti-MAGA, anti-fascist, anti-corruption. But what we're filling in and what I'm filling in is what they're not telling you on supposedly our side. Same with the New York Times, same with everybody that's in mainstream media that has failed to tell the people the truth, which is what led to the opportunity of Donald Trump and what we're in the midst of. Wouldn't you say that's correct?
40, yeah, yeah. Look, for 40 years, David K. Johnson has been digging in. Has David K. Johnson ever been sued by Chump Stain? No. Why? Because Chump Stain knows David K. got the goods on
Who's,
him.
who's David K. Johnston?
David K. Johnson is a Pulitzer Prize winning writer. He continues to write.
Hold on a second. Hold
He
on a second. He wrote
teaches.
for. Hold on a second. He started his career at the San Jose Mercury, which has an unbelievable tradition of investigative journalism. I mean, if you guys have ever heard about the CIA and Freeway, Freeway, what is the cocaine situation? They busted that wide open back in the '80s with CIA dumping cocaine and crack into minority neighborhoods and all that sort of stuff. And then he also worked at the LA Times, and he worked at the New York Times, and he worked at the Philadelphia Inquirer. And yes, he is a Pulitzer winning journalist, and he has been for decades. And he's also, and this is out of Donald Trump's mouth, Donald Trump's most hated journalist. So and it's been 30 something years. It's like 33 years, I think, ultimately. But yeah, he's been covering him since the SNL crisis, by the way, which kind of dovetails in the information we have and why he's known all the people that he work with. But I wanted to give that little caveat as you're describing who some of these folks are.
But David K. has been saying this. People in New York seem to say, yeah, we know he was a, a, a crook. But what? They put him on TV in some hokey apprentice TV show, which I never watched, by the way, and I never saw one episode. And he becomes like hot news.
That's not exactly how it worked. Let me just kind of do this bridge, and then I'm going to ask you to introduce the new Untouchables, and then I promise like 15 minutes, and we're coming up on it. But let's try to do this more often to where we get a flow of this, and we'll see how people respond to this one. But setting up the new Untouchables, like we had Donald Trump in the spotlight through everything from the National Enquirer to stupid magazines. He knew how to manipulate press at a certain level forever. That wasn't a surprise. But mainstream press wasn't covering what he was involved with. And David K. Johnson worked at the New York Times. And we have, for example, a discussion with David K. where he revealed, I think, something that I've never seen before, but that he revealed the information that Donald Trump was working with kingpin heavy drug launderers known to the FBI and the
That's
CIA
right.
that he tried to, tell the New York Times about that were investing heavily into Trump Tower at the beginning, and they didn't want to have anything to do with the story. He's an insider that couldn't tell the story of Donald Trump. They all played roulette. I'm fond of saying all the time, like Jeff Zucker, the president of CNN, and Les Moonves, the CEO of CBS, he said that, Trump was good for ratings, famously, to destroy our country. So tell us what the new Untouchables is.
The new Untouchables. We have the best prosecutors. We have criminologist par excellence, William K. Black. But here's the new Untouchables in a nutshell. They know how to fight ingeniously. They are great-hearted. They are honest and they are tenacious. You put all of that together. These academics, and they're not young pups. They are people who have been around the block, who have the experience, who were inside state government, who were inside federal government. And then, of course, you have my very dear friend, Tom Murphy, who is now in his 80s. Tom Murphy was the police officer who headed up the legal, not legal, law enforcement team to gather all the evidence, to do all the digging with regular cops, to put it all together, to give it to Mark Dan, who was the Attorney General of the great state of Ohio, and with spit and polish, chewing gum and string, no major money resources from the federal government, Mark Dan takes with the state, borrowed accountants, borrowed this one, borrowed businessmen, and puts together the frickin' evidence to take down the scumbags who were preying on widows, widows who were of color, taking their houses from them to the point where the woman that you show in the con, Addie Polk, who's almost in her 90s, she's going to get foreclosed upon. And instead of being thrown out in the streets, she shoots herself. And a few months later, she dies. Now, how many people were foreclosed upon illegally? How many people had their applications on their mortgage papers changed? Bullshit amounts of money that they made, bullshit signatures, all this stuff. Where are all those 16 plus million people? Where are they? Are they following Trump? Have they gone soft in the head? Have they become lobotomized zombies? What are they doing? Are they on social media? I don't know. I know people out in the street who aren't on social media. I know new untouchables and people of stature and academics who aren't on social media. So, I talk to people in parking lots. I talk to people on the phone. I talk to people on social media because different things that I say are going to grab people. Okay. It's going to be the magic for them. And I never know when I'm going to hit that chord, when I'm going to hit that note. I don't know. So
Well,
I'll
let
keep
me
going.
just step in here real quick. That was really great, and Tom Murphy is definitely a new untouchable, but not in the new untouchables that we're going to see just yet. Even though you can find him in conversations that we've had on Patrick Global Truth Bombs the Con, but the nature of what you were just describing is part and parcel the largest criminal conspiracy in the history of the world. Incidentally, that Donald Trump was involved up to his eyeballs in the civil fraud trial that just got revealed by Letitia James, where he lost 450 million in civil settlement right before the election. But now he's made $10 billion in grifting crypto. So hey, that's not as much of an issue to bankrupt him, which he was about to be bankrupted in the event that he didn't win the presidency and it was all in on that. Now that's first and foremost. Second of all, that's just a piece of the puzzle, which led to literally a 16, well, it starts off with about a $4.5 trillion housing bubble that goes into a $900 trillion global calamity that in the aftermath, we spent $71 trillion since 2009 through three presidencies to be
And why illegally? Why?
illegally. Why? Because it was all backdoored because of the statutes of Federal Reserve Act 13.3 that were written in 1933 say explicitly that this exigent circumstances does not include gambling or commodities, specifically in speculation and real estate. Any idiot in the Department of Justice or any idiot that gets paid millions of dollars to be on camera like Rachel Maddow, and she's not an idiot. She's an idiot because how do I want to wordsmith this? She's incredibly talented at what she's allowed to tell. She's as dumb as everybody else when it comes to things that she's not allowed to tell.
She doesn't know what she doesn't know.
And none of them do. And that's what we're trying to tell you. And so ultimately, in the context of what I opened up at the beginning, we're a pathway to that. And you can find this completely in the Clean New Deal. And I'm going to ask you in a moment, Roseanne, just to lay out the precepts and, well, actually the four questions and the precepts, and then we'll call it good on today's recording. But I do want to just say this as a segue. People, you've got to be able to find the New Untouchables at thenewuntouchables.com. We have a new YouTube page that's the New Untouchables. And we're going to be on Substack. There's going to be incredible pieces coming through on Substack that's going to, put this together. We'll be on Instagram. We'll have other efforts. Plus, we're going to build a new phase one website to put this together because the same people that came out of the Department of Justice, that came out of being attorney generals and others that are affiliated with this whole thing, who know how to take corruption down, they're offering their services pro bono to create a network to do several different things. First, we're going to be working with the Government Accountability Project, which are responsible for last week's revelation that blew up this guy Beauvais, the Assistant Director of the Attorney General of the United States, who was lying to everyone and telling his staff at DOJ to basically tell the appellate courts to go fuck themselves. I mean, he literally was saying that, and a whistleblower had revealed that, and that was huge news last week, and it should be huge news every single day. But we're going to be working with whistleblowers, literally thousands of them in this pipeline that's going to start to build. And we're going to do the work that mainstream media can't do or won't do because they're all in out or afraid to be sued, because we've seen capitulation from CBS, 60 Minutes, because Sherry Redstone wants to do a merger and acquisition with, the richest tech fund guy in the history of the world. That's what part and parcel of the whole thing. 60 Minutes got rug pulled, even though they weren't doing great work over the last decade anyway. And then ultimately, beyond that, these guys are picking up pro bono cases of victims of ICE all over the country, victims of tariffs, the unconstitutionality of tariffs, particularly small business. And we're going to galvanize a whole new initiative to go after the tech bro platforms, particularly Elon Musk and Section 230, because somebody has to. And the question is, why doesn't anybody know about this stuff? Well, because billionaires and billionaire apparatuses own the media and the government. Does that make sense? So tell us now what the Clean New Deal is and what the precepts of the Clean New Deal are based on the four questions.
Okay. First of all, the four questions that you have to ask. What is qualified immunity? What is it, folks? What is it? Would you like to elaborate, Patrick? Well, we can go from qualified immunity that gives the police, oh, go out there, you can shoot somebody, you can kill somebody, and chances are you are not going to be held responsible. What kind of crap is that? What is judicial immunity? What is that? Well, we're looking at a Supreme Court that gets paid off. The money's coming out of their ears. Thank you, Clarence
Leonard
Tuck.
Leo, 1.6 billion to the Supreme Court backdoor, literal backdoor to the Supreme Court.
1.6, how much? A billion? 1.6 billion?
That's how much came from this trust fund that went in to influence the 6-3 Roberts Court that has
Okay.
completely betrayed the United States and etch a sketch the Constitution.
And what is presidential immunity? When did
No
the
kings
president,
rule.
become a king? Did we not fight the American Revolution to get King George the hell out of here? Did we not do that? Oh, I guess everybody forgot that. And what's the Electoral College?
Not to mention on the 249th anniversary. Hey, let your freak flag fly, America.
Yeah, freak people. When you can answer those questions, and we've got it right up there on Patrick Lovell presents the Clean New Deal. It's not difficult. Just stop. People, will you please
Not
stop
rocket science.
swirling around?
It's not rocket science. It's racketeering, and you can find
That's
it.
right.
You can find it at www.thecleannewdeal.org.
And as my friend Tom Murphy says, look at this. It's not rocket science. It's racketeering. What does Tom say? It's theft. They're stealing from you. What is it that you do not understand, people? What do you not understand? That's all I got to say. Hey, if you don't get it, you got
Did you
oatmeal
roll
for
through the
breakfast.
precepts of the Clean New Deal?
I did not go through the precepts because I want people to go to. Can you share your screen real quick and I can give you let me share the screen, and what I can do is I can pull up the Clean New Deal and I can show people. Okay. Go ahead and give me permission to share the screen. Okay. And I'll say, okay. And then I will pull up the precepts. Well, the 4 questions first. Okay. Now, can you see the 4 questions, Patrick?
Nope.
Okay. Hit one more second, and we're going to do this. I'm going to do, oh, how did you get those things to pop up? I kind of like that, Patrick. I like that. Wait, I'm going to hit share. I'm going to hit share. Okay. All right. Watch this. Are you ready? Can we do this?
I'm waiting. There we go.
Can you see it?
Yeah, and by the way, you go to React down at the bottom of the screen and you can hit React. I just thought that would be fun to do while you were talking because those little emojis crack me up.
Oh, I like it. So, but you can see the precepts of the Clean New Deal. And I love it where we have qualified immunity and we have judicial immunity, and we have presidential immunity, and we have what is the Electoral College. Oh man, I like that. I like that. So people can see it. Please, please, people, please, please, please. All you gotta do, all you
Now,
gotta
wait a second. Go through what they are. Read them.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Hold on. I gotta go to another spot. Okay. But see, I have to go to the actual web page. Okay. And
Where's
that,
this? Where did you just go to a picture on your laptop or something?
right. That's exactly what I did.
Okay, let me see if I can do it faster.
Okay. Patrick can go with the uh computer things, and he's got faster little fingers than I do. Now, if you go to Patrick Lovell Presents The Clean New Deal, and up at the top it says what affects you, or you can go, oh, look at that. See? No, that's your screen. Oh, that's okay. But you're gonna do it. Okay. Yep. See, it's easier that way. This is a lesson in there they are, the precepts of the Clean New Deal. I can see them. See, that's what I was showing, but in a picture form. I wasn't reading them. Okay. But I can't see that because it's too small. But I know
Okay,
that,
I'll try to talk us through it real quick, though,
go
because
ahead.
the first thing that you see, if you can you see it on my screen, by the way?
Yeah, but go up a little bit. You gotta recreate.
Well, I mean, you see the
Come
Rubik's
on.
Cube, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The Rubik's Cube is putting everything together, okay? And that's the idea of trying to put
Yep.
together your brain. So Roseanne already introduced the four precepts, which is what is qualified immunity, which means why do police get to shoot people without being put in prison? Why are they above the law? There's a reason for that. What is judicial immunity? How is it possible that corrupt Supreme Court justices can actually live out the rest of their lives destroying the United States? I don't think that
Right.
was envisioned by the founding fathers. What
No.
about the president being a king? Are you kidding? Hello. And then ultimately, what is the Electoral College? Well, it's ruled by the minority, my friends. So what we have to do, based on everything that we've laid out, is we got to recreate a modern day Glass-Steagall Act to separate commercial banking from investment banking while ensuring the full faith and credit of the United States can
And that's the money part. That's the
the
money
full faith
part.
and credit of the United States cannot be used to guarantee global fraud. Walk us through that. Tell us what that means. Go ahead.
Okay. When you have a new Glass-Steagall that was put in place during the first term of FDR, you separate commercial banking from investment banking because you don't want the rotten guys who are investing with your money. They're taking chances with your money. You gotta separate them. You can't let them play like this is
Listen, it'd
a
be one
freaking
thing.
casino.
Listen to me. It's one thing to let them do that, but it's another that when they blow up the world, that you let them line up to get tens of trillions of dollars for free, which it
Well,
says in the statutes that you can't speculate in commodities or in real estate for the exigent circumstances, a hurricane, nuclear war, famine, the MAGA zombie apocalypse. Maybe those would suffice for emergency lending circumstances because we've got fiat currency and we have an exorbitant position in the United States because we're the global reserve currency, and that's how we've saved ourselves for the few at the expense of the many. And it's the many versus the money. That's what we're trying to tell you people because they've done it while you're like, this is insane. And it's like, it's insane that you don't know this. We're
Yeah,
talking $71 trillion. What is the GDP of the United States, Roseanne?
I don't know anymore.
It's $25 trillion a year. That's the sum total of goods and services
That's
in
all.
the country. Okay.
That's
That's
all.
everything. That's a third of what we're talking about
Yeah,
to a
right.
tiny group of people that walked away with this that ended up buying the Supreme Court. What's $1.6 billion dollars if you've got hundreds of billions of dollars effectively for free, not having to do anything for it? It's socialism for criminals. That's what people have got to get their heads around. So read us the, let me see if you can see the second one, Roseanne.
We have to end Citizens United. Corporations are not people. That's number two. End Citizens United. No more dark money. Look, they get the money illegally. They take the money. They give the money to both parties, and those people, those politicians, those criminals in suits with no shame do exactly what they are told. So you got unlimited fuel going to rich people who pay Democrats and Republicans. So please, everybody has enough blame to go around. Okay? Nobody's perfect, but everybody can share in the blame. The third precept is we can show you very well how we can take 71 trillion frickin' dollars and spend it a hell of a lot better than giving it to criminals in suits with no shame who get unlimited money, who get a get out of jail free card. We could actually get off of fossil fuel. We could have a federal job guarantee to give everybody who wants a job that they love, a job that would pay them not a minimum wage, but a wage that will allow them to live, not merely exist. And they don't have to move to the ends of the earth to find a job. We could recreate our whole grid. We could educate people. We could stop with the for-profit prisons. The things we could do are mind-boggling. But no, let's make Elon Musk a welfare queen. Okay. Number four, we've got to expand the Supreme Court to 13 justices, and we've got to enforce a canon of ethics to make these corrupt criminals, to make them afraid, to make them unwilling to take another penny, put their butts in jail. We have to end qualified immunity. We have to end presidential immunity. We have to end the Electoral College. We have to institute term limits for U.S. senators and representatives. Okay. And we have to prohibit all this insider trading, all this insider trading. If you're in the Senate, if you're in the House, if you're in the Supreme Court, if you are in the administration, come on, what do you think they go become public servants for. They didn't become public servants to serve you and me. They could give a rat's ass about you and me. They don't care. They care about their own comfort. What can they get? How can they feather their own nest? Well, when you've got a Federal Reserve that continues to illegally give money to people who have created the problems, and you give them a fucking get out of jail free card, what do you expect?
No, I love that, Roseanne. I was going to say, where's the where's the like outrage? Because listen,
Where's the outrage?
money,
That's right.
money, money is everything, Roseanne. And
Yep.
we're talking about, anybody knows that if you go steal a purse or if you steal gas at the gas at the station, and any number of crimes, you're going to jail. Nobody can imagine that if you lied to people, cheated them, hustled them, you get busted, and all the stuff you did was illegal, that you wouldn't go to jail, because you wouldn't. You would go to jail. But if you're Wall Street and you
He
do it to
would.
tens of millions
Yeah.
of people, and you do it to the tune of tens of trillions of dollars in a global calamity, they're going to line up tens of trillions of dollars so you can control the government. See, it's beyond Orwell. It's beyond anything you've ever seen. And I'm a filmmaker. I've got an incredible imagination. I've been on this road, this journey, this odyssey for 13 years, and I've worked with the top people in the country, including the woman that is right here, Roseanne Rabiella Mille, who's done just a terrific job revealing all of this stuff to you. But what I need to finish off with here, to my friends, is that you're not going to get this information on your thread anywhere else. We're the only ones who have it. Nobody else is talking about this. There's a number of podcasters that I like. I really enjoy Mike Figueredo, for example. I really enjoy a handful of other guys that are smart. They know what they're doing. But there's many more people who don't know anything, and they've got millions of followers, because what they do is they react to the 24-hour cycle. They react to the algorithm. It's built in. It's baked in. It's insane. And so this information can penetrate. And you might ask yourself, well, why didn't I hear it from the New York Times? Well, guess what? There's people from the New York Times in the con, so they're there. So size that up in your credibility standard. What about ProPublica? Have you guys seen all the wonderful work that ProPublica has done for I don't know how long? They're the ones who revealed all of the corruption of the Supreme Court. Do you trust ProPublica? Well, the top guy from ProPublica who did all that is in the con. Not to mention all the great people that we've already talked about. That the entirety of everyone from Rachel Maddow sidelined. Listen, does Rachel Maddow know all of this stuff? I think she does. It all started during the Obama administration. Not started. He cleaned it up, and because he was Mr. Charisma, what do we call him, Barry? The guy who sunk three pointers and was as charismatic as they get. He got on 60 Minutes, the wonderful 60 Minutes that people are like, oh my God, the gold standard of journalism. And he told them, look, what Wall Street did was unethical, but it wasn't illegal. Absolute fucking horseshit beyond comprehension. The numbers that we have on the lower end is at least 10 million filed foreclosures, all of which were illegal. And for those of you who now know Pam Bondi is a freak show liar because of everything that's going on with all things Epstein right now. In fact, MAGA Nation is going nuts about her. Did you know that she got her calling card by burying millions of people through the story that we're talking about? Why do you think she got the opportunity to work for Trump in the first place, to bury Trump University and all of the other underhanded, wicked, deceiving insanity that she's been involved with for years, to only become what? The top law official in the United States? People, we're so past the Rubicon. We are so past anything, and we've got all of the answers. And all we're trying to do is get you to wake up to it. We're not asking you for money. Although I will say, if you want to buy some of the coolest swag going, and you look at our website, and I should have shown it. In fact, I think I took it off. But we have a swag page. In fact, I'm going to see if I can see it if it's still up there. Hold on one second, because I think I still have it up there. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I do.
Okay.
Guys, check this out, and this isn't like, your favorite mega church bullshit, where it's like, hey, I'm going to send you to heaven if you pass around the hat and give us, money. No, man, we got the coolest swag going on, and it's made in America. And let's see if this stuff will pop up. But I'm sure we got stuff coming from China too.
Okay.
But I think,
My favorite is the dog with the stop lying
yeah,
scarf.
this is Roseanne's design, the handkerchief for your dog that says "Stop lying." I looked at this stuff earlier. Some of our product is magnificent. We were all sold a lie. The Clean New Deal. Where is the sticker? I want to see if I've got that sticker. We've got this wonderful hat. I
Dude,
was
you're
trying to get
bulletproof.
Tim Walsh to wear that hat. That would look great on Tim Walsh. The Clean New Deal, people. In fact, I had posted earlier today that FDR had basically said the speech during the 1936 convention where he said the old enemies of peace that are the bankers and the war profiteers and the speculators and all of these people that lie, thieve, and deceive that are basically the aristocracy, they're unified in their hate towards me, and I welcome their hate. And he did that to create the New Deal, right? That's the populist movement. So we've created the Clean New Deal because are there better ways than 71? Is there better ways to spend $71 trillion
Yep.
than a handful of people that are going to throw old ladies off of Medicaid or everybody else for that matter who's on it? And this is what I was trying to find. When you have the truth, people, you're bulletproof. Just 362 pen right there. This stuff, if we did this like MAGA Nation and we had tens of millions of people, basically wearing this stuff, do you think it's possible that we'd make an impression? Oh, yeah. Somehow we got to break through, Roseanne. I hope this will do it. Do you have any final closing thoughts?
Failure is not an option. And together, with you, with me, with all the people who are following us, with our experts, the new untouchables, failure is not an option. It's magic time.
Look, it is magic time, and I want to finish off with this. I think of Donald Trump as not just the Mad King, but he's the Mad Magazine Mad King. I mean, this stuff is so stupid and ridiculous and everything else, but the tragedies on the other side, the deaths. I mean, the fire. Well, that was during Biden's time, but it was through the same sorts of, government deregulation that enabled the fires in LA to go out of control that looked like an apocalypse, right? Actually, was it January? No, it was before. So Biden had already lost the presidency. I remember posting pictures of Malibu on fire, which absolutely blew my mind. And what did we just see with the poor evangelical girls that got swept in a biblical flood? Talking about irony, but Governor Abbott in Texas and all of the stuff that moron does, and he's about as much of a racketeer as anybody I've ever seen. That guy is. We should call him backdoor Abbott or something. I mean, these guys are out of control, and millions of people are like, "Yeah, can I have more?" I'm convinced that people don't care until they're being swept down the river, ravaged, and going, "Why didn't God save me?" Look, nobody's coming to the rescue. We're coming to the rescue. We've got the answers, and the Democrats, as of yet, do not have an idea of how to turn the tables on the stuff. Bernie, if you paid attention, Bernie Sanders in the Fight Oligarchy tour with AOC, they mentioned 3 of our precepts. How many precepts do we have, Roseanne?
9
And we have the $71 trillion truth.
dollar truth.
If
And
Bernie
all we
Sanders sat up there, if Bernie Sanders sat up there and said, and oh yeah, by the way, and I can't even do a Bernie because I can't do that accent, but I love it because the old man in the soup line, angry in the soup line in a New York deli, right? I used to see like, who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of Larry David doing great impersonation of Bernie Sanders. But he would say, could you imagine? He said, and on top of all of that, I'm telling you, they stole $71 trillion that we gave them illegally to do this. What do you think people would do? Honestly, if they heard it from Bernie, could you imagine? And let me tell you something, Bernie knows. So does Elizabeth Warren. They both know. Okay, they do, and they've been making a killing by telling you basically the surface of how this whole thing works. So it's a crazy world, and you're just living it. And there's just no time better than the present to get on board the Clean New Deal, because we got to turn the tables. And I'll say this as my closing line, Roseanne. How long ago was it that I was saying in our truth bombs that we need to have a flash mob of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of us, coming to the streets in Washington, D.C. to surround SCOTUS, the Federal Reserve, the DOJ, Congress, and the White House, and then millions of us sojourn in a great exodus to the National Mall, where we stand underneath the gaze of Abraham Lincoln, across the mirror pond from the Martin Luther King statue, and we combined that a nation of, by, and for this, a nation of, by, and for the people shall not perish from this earth, and that the long arc of the arc of justice is long, but it bends towards justice. There's no time left. Put yourself on the riverbed of the Guadalupe River, and just think of the tidal flood that's coming your way. There's going to be a moment when millions of us do not have the protection or the wherewithal to say, you know what, it's not affecting me, so I can look the other way. First of all, that's cowardice. Second of all, that's ignorance. Third of all, it's a sickness, because to me, it's always been about character and courage. And if you don't have those two things, what are you doing? What do you want to live in a freaking slave system? You want to live underneath, you want to kiss the ring of a king, of the Mad Magazine, Mad King? People, we're going to keep bringing it. I feel like sometimes we're just talking to ourselves and we can't get this past anyone. But you know what? Roseanne Rabiola Mile is connecting with like 30,000 people on Blue Sky. That's something. And I've got 11,000, and hopefully I'll be able to kick it up a notch. But
To get, yes, and we got the new
okay,
Untouchables.
hold
We
on.
got
Let's just give them all the stuff. So you can go to thenewuntouchables.com. We're starting to roll that out. You can go to Substack for the New Untouchables. We also have the New Untouchables on YouTube and thecleannewdeal.org. And I would also recommend checking out my colleagues' work, Corruption Incorporated, The American Way, on YouTube. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Roseanne, your last word, and we'll say adios.
my last word is, people, ain't no shortcuts. Just take a couple of minutes. We can succeed together. Bye.
Onwards and upwards. Take care, everyone.